Now again, doing string overrides this way is not super sustainable. It means that whenever we make an adjustment, we then have to make that a manual change that we have to create on production, and anybody else with an instance of this site will also need to modify their settings.php file because it's not version controlled. So let's go ahead and create a new file that is version controlled that each person can include in their settings.php file. That way, everybody will only need to make a single modification to their settings.php file to include that file, and then any configuration changes that we make that need to go into settings.php that also need to be shared among all of the instances of our site can go into that generally included file. And with version control, people can just update their development environments by doing a git pull, and production can do the same thing and pull in those configuration changes too. So I'm going to jump back to my Drupal folder. Now, in order to create a new file in this folder, we may have to change permissions on it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here, the Mac way. Okay, and now I'm going to duplicate this default file, and I'm going to rename it global.settings.php. Now we're just going to clear out the contents of this so you can create an empty document as well. Now I'm going to highlight everything and then cut it out. And then I'm going to add a opening PHP tag here and save it. And then I'm going to go back to my settings.php file, and I'm going to cut out this configuration option, and I'll include any comments with it as well here. And I'll save this. And then back in settings.php, I'm going to go ahead and comment out this section again. And then at the very top, I'm going to go ahead and include our file. This will allow for any overrides to happen below it. So here's a code I'm going to use for this. I'm going to set a variable global settings to the name and location of this global settings.php file. So we're looking for the directory where the settings.php file is. That's what this will get. And then we're just tacking on the name of the file. And then we're checking if the file exists, and if so, we're including it. Now this is just a safeguard just in case that file goes missing or we decide we don't need it anymore, but don't adjust our settings.php file. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and save this. And now remember, our configuration isn't in this file anymore, but if we go back to our site and refresh it, we'll see that our override here is persisting. Okay, so now our local site is all good to go, but we need to do two things in order to push this to other instances of our site. The first is adding our global.settings.php file to version control, and then we need to add an entry into our manual updates.txt file that says that we need to include this code inside of our settings.php file, because this is something that everybody will manually have to do and will manually have to do on production as well. So let's go ahead and jump to the command line, make sure you're in your development environment, and let's do a git status. Okay, so we have our blog overrides module that we haven't added to version control yet. And then we have our global.settings.php file. Let's go ahead and stage this file and commit it on its own. Do a git add, and then paste in the path to it. And then let's just do a commit. The message here is added global settings.php file. And I'm going to hit enter. Okay, now let's go ahead and let everybody on our team know that they need to add some code to their settings.php file by updating our manual updates.txt file. So I'm going to jump back to our Drupal site directory, and I'm going to expand the assets folder and open up manual updates.txt. And I'm going to jump back to the code here in settings.php and copy it. And then I'm going to add an item here. So the lines we're adding here is add the following code to the top of your settings.php file, and then the code. So they can just copy this and paste it in. Okay, let's go ahead and save this and we can close it. And now we have a setup where we can version control any of our string overrides. Now, as you look at the settings here on this site, you see that there are several other things we can add here that we might want to pull into our global settings.php file a little later if we make adjustments to them. And when we do, because it will be under version control, we don't need to do anything special in order to adjust the other environments. To complete this process, let's go ahead and commit our change to our manual updates.txt file and then push it to our remote site. So I'm going to jump back to the command line, and I'll do a git status here. Now we have our modified manual updates.txt file. I'm going to copy the path here, and I'm going to do a git add. And then let's go ahead and commit this. And the message here is manual update, and I'm just using all caps so it's easier to see in the log. Add include code to settings.php file. And I'll go ahead and hit enter. And then let's go ahead and push this. Okay, and we went ahead and did our push.